Hello everyone, this is Sumit Bose and I am from the Bodhi Academy. Today we are going to discuss on the chapter Mughals 16th and century. So before starting the chapter, we all know that the Mughals ruled India for a long time, and 16th and 17th centuries were totally under their control. So, what, who were the Mughals, and how did it all started, and what did they did for India? Okay, today we are going to learn each and every single point. So, without any further delay, let's start. Ruling as a large territory as the Indian subcontinent with such a diversity of people and cultures was an extremely difficult task for any ruler to accomplish in Middle Ages. So it was a very extremely difficult task because there were many cultures in India. So ruling India was extremely difficult. Quite in contrast to their predecessors, the Mughals created an empire and accomplished what had hitherto seemed possible for only short periods of time. From the latter half of the 16th century, they expanded their kingdom from Agra to Delhi. Until the 17th century, they controlled nearly all the subcontinent. So the Mughal nearly controlled all over the Indian subcontinent. Could not ignore. Today, the Prime Minister of India addresses the nation on Independence Day from the ramparts of the Red Fort in Delhi. Okay, now this Red Fort was also built by the Mughal emperors. Okay, this was the residence of the Mughal emperors. Now, who were the Mughals? Okay, the Mughals were descendants of two lineages of rulers. From their mother's side, they were descendants of Jahangir Khan and the Mongol ruler who ruled over parts of China, Central Asia. From their father's side, they were successors of Taimur, the ruler of Iran, Iraq, and modern day Turkey. Okay, so who was Genghis Khan? Genghis Khan was the ruler whose empire was the biggest in history. However, the Mughals did not like to be called Mughal or Mongol. This was because Genghis Khan's memory was associated with the massacre of innumerable people. Now, Genghis Khan was someone who was a very brutal ruler. He not only killed all the people in the land which he attacked, but also killed all the creatures over there. Okay. On the other hand, the Mughals were proud of their Taimur ancestry, not least all because their great ancestor had captured Delhi in 1398. They celebrated their genealogy pictorially, each ruler getting a picture made of Taimur and himself. Mughal military campaigns. Babur, the first Mughal emperor, succeeded to the throne of Fargana in 1494 when he was 12 years old. He was forced to leave his ancestral throne due to the invasion of another Mongol group, the Uzbeks. After years of wandering, he seized Kabul in 1504. In 1526, he defeated Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, at Panipat and captured Delhi and Agra. Ibrahim Lodi had a huge army. So how did Babur win? He introduced the cannons. Okay? Cannons was an important addition in 16th century warfare. Look, Babur used them effectively in the First Battle of Panipat. So this was Babur's great advantage. Mughal traditions of succession. The Mughals did not believe in rule of primogeniture, where the eldest son inherited his father's estate. Instead, they followed the Mughal and Taimur custom of conspiracy inheritance, or a division of inheritance amongst all the sons. Okay. Mughals' relations with other rulers. The Mughal rulers campaigned constantly against rulers who refused to accept their authority. But as the Mughals became powerful, many other rulers also joined them voluntarily. The Rajputs are a good example of this. Many of them married their daughters into Mughal families and received high positions, but many resisted as well. The Sisodiya Rajputs of Mewar refused to accept Mughal authority for a long time. Once defeated, however, they honorably treated by the Mughals given their lands back as assignments or Watan Jahangir. The careful balance between defeating but not humiliating their opponents enabled the Mughals to extend their influence over many kings and chieftains, but it was difficult to keep this balance all the time. Mansabdars and Jagirs. As the empire expanded to the encompass different regions, the Mughals recruited diverse bodies of people. From a small nucleus of Turkish nobles, they expanded to include Iranians, Indian Muslims, Afghans, Rajputs, Marathas, and other groups. Those who joined Mughal service were enrolled as Mansabdars. The term Mansabdar refers to an individual who holds a mansab, meaning a position or rank. It was a grading system used by the Mughals to fix rank, salary, military responsibilities. Okay, rank and salary was determined by a numerical value called zat. The higher the zat, the more prestigious was the noble's position in the court, in the larger his salary. The Mansabdar's military responsibilities required him to maintain a specified number of swar or cavalrymen. The Mansabdar brought his cavalrymen for review, got them registered, their horses branded, and they received money to pay as salary. Mansabdar received their salaries as revenue assignment called Jagirs, which were somewhat like iktas. But unlike muktis, most Mansabdars did not actually reside in or administer their Jagirs. They only had rights to revenue of other assignments which was collected for them by their servants, while the Mansabdars themselves served in some other part of the country. In Akbar's reign, these Jagirs were carefully assessed so that their revenues were roughly equal to the salary of the Mansabdar. By Aurangzeb's reign, this was no longer the case, and the actual revenue collected was often less than the granted sum. There was also a huge increase in the number of Mansabdars, which meant a long wait before they received a Jagir. These and other factors created a shortage in the number of Jagirs. As a result, many Jagirdars tried to extract as much revenue as possible while they had a Jagir. Aurangzeb was unable to control these developments in the last years of reign, and the peasantry therefore suffered tremendously. Zabt and Zamindar. This is a very important point. The main source of income available to Mughal rulers was tax on the produce of peasantry. In most places, peasants paid taxes through the rural elites. This is the headman of the local chieftain. The Mughals used one term, zamindars, to describe all the intermediaries, whether they were local headmen or village or powerful chieftains. Akbar's revenue minister Todarmal carried out a careful survey of crop yields, prices, and areas cultivated over 10-year period, 1570 to 1580. Efficiently, Raja Todarmal did this. Okay, on the basis of this data, tax was fixed on each crop in cash. Each province was divided into revenue circles with its own schedule of revenue rates in individual crops. This revenue system was known as Zabt. So what is Zabt? It is a revenue system. Administrators could survey the land and keep very careful accounts. This was not possible in provinces such as Gujarat and Bengal. In some areas, zamindars exercised a great deal of power. The exploitation by Mughal administrators could drive them to rebellions. Sometimes zamindars and peasants of the same caste allied in rebelling against Mughal authority. These peasant revolts challenged the stability of the Mughal Empire from the end of the 17th century. Now, the Mughal Empire in the 17th century and after. So, later in the 17th century, the Mughal Empire became weak. Okay, after the death of Aurangzeb. The administrative and military efficiency of Mughal Empire led to great economic and commercial prosperity. International travelers describe it as the fabled land of wealth. But these same visitors were also appalled to the state poverty that existed side by side with the greatest opulence. The inequalities were glaring. Documents from the 20th year of Shah Jahan's reign inform us that the highest ranking Mansabdars were only 445 in number out of the total 8,000. So these were the inequalities. Okay, so obviously it created a, what do you call that, an anger inside their heart. This small number, a more 5.6% of total number of Mansabdar, received 61.5% of the total estimated revenue of the empire as salaries for themselves and their troopers. The Mughal emperors and their Mansabdar spent a great deal of their income on salaries and goods. This expenditure benefited the artisans and peasantry who supplied them with goods and produce. But the scale of revenue collection left very little for investment in the hands of primary producers, the peasants and the artisans. The poorest among them lived from hand to mouth, and they could hardly consider investing in additional resources, tools, and supplies to increase productivity. The wealthier peasantry and ancestral rulers, the merchants and bankers, profited in the economic world. The enormous wealth and resources commanded by the Mughal elite made them an extremely powerful group of people in the late 17th century. As the authority of the Mughal emperor slowly declined, his servants emerged as powerful centers of power in regions. So basically, what happened during the at the ending of the 17th century, the Mughal emperor's power declined, and regional powers grew. Okay, they consisted new dynasties and held command of provinces like Hyderabad and Oudh. Although they continued to recognize the Mughal emperor in Delhi as their master, by the 18th century the provinces of the empire had consolidated their independent political identities. Okay, so I hope you all understood it, and for more information and details please contact the Bodhi Academy.